I sold my husband's dead mother's ring to pay our rent, and now his family wants to disown me. Okay, so we were 3 weeks behind on rent. Our landlord kept leaving these passive-aggressive notes on our door about how he had bills too and couldn't keep waiting. My husband Greg had just lost his warehouse job 2 months before because the company downsized or whatever. I work at a coffee shop making $9.50 an hour, which is basically nothing. We had $27 in our account. Rent was $1,200. The eviction notice came on a Tuesday and gave us 5 days. Greg was applying everywhere. Like everywhere. Gas stations, Target, this sketchy telemarketing place. Nothing. His mom had died 4 years ago from cancer. Before she died, she gave him this ring that had been in her family forever. It was pretty. Had these little diamonds around a sapphire. Not huge or anything, but nice. It sat in our bathroom drawer in this velvet box. Greg would take it out sometimes and just look at it. Never said much. Just looked. Thursday morning, I grabbed it while he was in the shower. Drove to 3 different pawn shops. First guy offered me $200. Second offered $350. Third guy looked at it under this little microscope thing and said $800 cash. I took it. Gave our landlord the money that afternoon. Told Greg I borrowed it from my aunt in Ohio. He believed me because my aunt actually exists, and she's helped us before. Everything was fine for like 3 weeks. Then his sister Ashley came over. She's the type who just shows up without texting first. She was looking for bobby pins in our bathroom and found the empty velvet box in the drawer. She picked it up and goes, "Where's the ring?" I froze. Greg was in the living room and heard her. He came in and looked at the box, then at me. I told him, "Right there. No build-up. Just said I sold it to pay rent, and we weren't getting evicted because of it." His face went completely blank. Not angry. Not sad. Just blank. Ashley started screaming at me. Called me a thief and a bunch of other stuff. She took a picture of the empty box and left. By that night, his whole family knew. His dad called. His other sister called. Even his aunt from Colorado called. They all said the same stuff about how that ring was a family heirloom and I had no right and Greg should leave me. Greg didn't talk to me for 2 days. Just went to his new job at the grocery store and came home and played video games with his headphones on. Day 3, his dad shows up at our apartment. Doesn't knock. Has a key Greg gave him years ago, apparently. Just walks in while I'm eating cereal in my pajamas at like 2 in the afternoon on my day off. He tells me I need to buy the ring back. Find out which pawn shop and buy it back. I told him we don't have $800. We barely have $8. He says then I need to take out a loan or ask my family or figure it out because that ring meant everything to his late wife. I said we were about to be homeless and the ring was just sitting there. He called me selfish. Said his son deserves better. Then he looks at Greg, who's standing in the hallway, and says, "You coming home or staying with her?" Greg just stands there looking at both of us and quietly says, "I'll go." I feel my stomach drop. He walks past me without looking at me and starts putting clothes in a bag. His dad is nodding with this smug look. I'm crying, asking Greg to please talk to me. He ignores me completely like I'm not even there. He zips the bag and him and his dad head for the door. That's when there's a knock. Greg opens it and it's Ashley. She's holding papers. She walks past everyone and throws them on our kitchen counter. Says she did some digging at mom's lawyer office where she works. Turns out the ring wasn't a family heirloom at all. Their mom bought it at a department store in 2015, 3 years before she died. Greg picks up the receipt copy and his dad tries to grab it, but Greg holds it away. His face changes as he reads it, and when he looks up at his dad, there's pure rage in his eyes. His dad backs toward the door, but Greg blocks it and deadbolts it from the inside. Ashley's face goes pale and she whispers, "Oh my God, what did you do, Dad?" The room went dead silent except for the sound of Greg's breathing getting heavier. His dad, Terrence, started doing this thing with his hands, opening and closing his fists like he couldn't figure out what to do with them. "What is she talking about?" Greg said. His voice was low and controlled, the kind of calm that's way scarier than yelling. Ashley held up more papers. She was shaking a little. "I found the original purchase order in Mom's files at the firm. There's also correspondence between Mom and Dad about what to tell you kids about the ring. Mom wanted to be honest. She thought it was silly to pretend it was some family treasure when she just liked how it looked in the display case." Greg flipped through the papers. His jaw was clenched so tight I could see the muscles moving. "Dad told her no," Ashley continued. "He said it would mean more to you if you thought it had history. So they made up this whole story about it being great-grandma's ring from Poland." I stood there frozen. This whole time. All the screaming from Ashley. All the calls from relatives. All the silent treatment from Greg. It was over a ring his mom bought at Macy's for probably a few $100s retail. Terrence finally found his voice. "It doesn't matter where it came from. It was your mother's ring. That's what makes it valuable." Greg actually laughed. But it wasn't a real laugh. It was this harsh sound that made everyone flinch. "So when Meredith sold it to keep us from being homeless, you called her selfish. You rallied the whole family against her. You were going to take me back to your house like I was some kid who needed rescuing. Over a ring you and Mom bought at the mall. It meant something to your mother," Terrence said. But his voice had lost all its authority. "What did it mean exactly?" Greg asked. He stepped closer to his dad. "What sentimental value did a ring have that Mom owned for 3 years? That's less time than my gym membership." Ashley was looking at her feet now. I could tell she felt terrible about everything. About the screaming at me. About blasting it to the family. Maybe that's why she dug into it. Maybe some part of her felt bad and wanted to understand why everyone was making such a huge deal. "Greg," Terrence started again. "No." Greg held up his hand. "You don't get to talk right now. You walked into my home. You tried to turn me against my wife. You were going to let me leave her over something that wasn't even what you said it was. I was just trying to protect your mother's memory. By lying?" Greg's voice cracked a little on that word. "By making everyone think Meredith was some monster for keeping us off the street?" Terrence's face was red. Whether from embarrassment or anger, I couldn't tell. Probably both. "Your wife had no right to sell something that wasn't hers," he said. "That's still true, regardless of where it came from. She had every right," Greg shot back. "We were 3 days from being evicted. 3 days. Where were you then? Where was this big family support when we couldn't afford groceries last month? When I lost my job and nobody offered to help?" Terrence didn't have an answer for that. He just stood there looking like a kid who got caught doing something bad. Ashley stepped forward. "Greg, I'm so sorry. I should have checked the facts before I started making calls. I just assumed Dad was telling the truth about the ring." "You assumed," Greg repeated. He ran a hand through his hair. "You assumed, and then you called me 17 times. You texted my wife horrible things. You posted in the family group chat that she was a gold digger who married me for money." Ashley's eyes went wide. "I didn't know you saw that." "I see everything in that chat," Greg said. "I just never respond because it's mostly just Aunt Carol posting minion memes and Dad sharing conspiracy theories about the government." I almost laughed at that. Almost. But the tension in the room was still thick enough to choke on. Terrence moved toward the door. "Fine. You want to side with her over your own family? Go ahead." Greg stepped aside. "Yeah, I do. Because she's my family now. She's the one who's here every day. She's the one who held me when I found out about the layoffs. She's the one who picked up extra shifts so we could eat. What have you done lately besides judge us from your paid-off house?" That hit different. I saw Terrence's shoulders drop a little. Because Greg was right. His dad lived in a nice 4-bedroom house in the suburbs. Hadn't had a mortgage payment in 8 years. Drove a new truck every 3 years. And not once since Greg lost his job had he offered to help. "I'll be at the house if you want to talk," Terrence said quietly. Then he left without looking at any of us. Ashley lingered by the counter. She picked up the papers she'd brought and organized them into a neat stack. "I really am sorry," she said. "To me this time. I should have asked questions before I attacked you. I didn't know what to say." Part of me wanted to accept her apology. Part of me wanted to tell her exactly where she could shove those papers. But I was too tired for either option. "Thanks for finding out the truth," I finally said. That took guts. She nodded and headed for the door. She stopped with her hand on the knob and looked back at Greg. "Mom would have understood," she said. "She was practical like that. She would have sold the ring herself before she let you guys lose your home. Then she was gone too." Greg stood in the middle of our tiny living room looking like he'd just run a marathon. He dropped onto the couch and put his head in his hands. I sat next to him but didn't touch him. Didn't know if he wanted that right now. "I'm so sorry," he said after a minute. "You don't have to apologize." "Yeah, I do." He looked up at me. I believed them. I was about to leave with him. "I let them make you into the bad guy when you were just trying to keep us afloat. You didn't know the ring wasn't what they said it was." "It shouldn't matter," he said. His voice was thick. "Even if it was some ancient family heirloom. You did what you had to do. You saved us. And I was going to punish you for it." I finally reached over and took his hand. We sat there for a while, not saying anything. The apartment felt different somehow. Like all the air had been sucked out and replaced with something new. The next few days were weird. Greg went back to work, but he was quiet. Not the angry quiet from before. More like processing quiet. He called in sick one day just to stay home and clean the apartment top to bottom. I knew that was his way of working through stuff. The family group chat exploded once word got out about what Ashley found. I wasn't in it, but Greg showed me some of the messages. His Aunt Carol, who had called me a snake, was suddenly saying she knew something felt off about the whole situation. His cousin Derek, who'd never liked me anyway, doubled down and said it didn't matter because I still sold something that wasn't mine. Greg left the group chat entirely. Just sent one message that said, "I need a break from all of you," and then disappeared from it. His phone kept buzzing with private messages after that, but he ignored most of them. About a week later, Ashley texted asking if she could come over. Greg said okay, but only if she came alone. She showed up with a bottle of wine and a card that said "Sorry, I was an idiot" on the front in her own handwriting. We sat in the living room and she explained what happened at the lawyer's office. She'd been filing old paperwork when she came across a folder with her mom's name on it. Inside was the original purchase receipt for the ring and a bunch of emails between her parents from 2015. "Mom was really against the fake story," Ashley said. "She kept saying it felt wrong to lie to you kids about something like that. But Dad convinced her it would give the ring more meaning." "Why though?" Greg asked. "What was the point?" Ashley shrugged. "I think Dad just wanted everything to seem more important than it was. You know how he is. He's always exaggerating stories, making everything into this big dramatic thing." That tracked. Terrence once told a story about catching a fish that weighed 40 pounds. Someone found the photo later, and it was clearly maybe 12 pounds at most. "There's something else," Ashley said. She looked nervous. "I found more stuff in Mom's files. Old letters. Some financial documents. Things that don't add up." "Like what?" I asked. She pulled out her phone and showed us photos she'd taken of various papers. Bank statements from years ago. Letters from lawyers. Something about a trust fund. Greg leaned in to look. "What am I looking at here?" "Mom had money," Ashley said. "A lot more than we knew about. She inherited it from Grandma when Grandma died in 2008. But according to these papers, it was supposed to go to you and me equally when Mom passed. I don't remember anything about an inheritance, Greg said. Exactly. Ashley zoomed in on one of the photos. This is a document from right after Mom died. Dad signed something that transferred control of the trust to himself as trustee. But look at this signature. Greg squinted at the phone. That doesn't look like Mom's handwriting. Because it's not. I compared it to other documents she signed. The signature on the trust transfer is clearly forged. The room went quiet again. Greg sat back against the couch like he'd been punched. Are you saying what I think you're saying? He asked. I'm saying Dad might have stolen our inheritance, Ashley said. And he's been sitting on it for 4 years while telling us there was nothing left after Mom's medical bills. How much are we talking about? I asked. Not because it mattered to me personally, but because I needed to understand the scale of what we were dealing with. Ashley pulled up another photo. According to the original trust documents, the total amount was around $400,000, split between me and Greg. Greg made a sound that was almost like a laugh, but wasn't. 400,000. He covered his face with his hands. We've been eating ramen 3 times a week. Meredith sold a ring for $800 to pay rent, and Dad's been sitting on $200,000 that belongs to me. I felt sick. Actually physically sick. All those nights we'd laid in bed stressing about money. All those arguments about which bill to pay first. All that shame Greg felt about not being able to provide for us. And his dad had the answer the whole time. What do we do? I asked. Ashley stood up and started pacing. First, we need to verify this. I'm not a lawyer. I could be reading these documents wrong. But I know someone at the firm who handles estate stuff. She's discreet. She'll look at this and tell us what we're dealing with. Greg nodded slowly. Okay, there's one more thing, Ashley said. She stopped pacing and faced us. Dad's been making weird purchases lately. A new boat. That trip to Vegas last month. The renovations on the house. Greg looked up. He said those were from his retirement fund. Maybe. But the timing is suspicious. Right after I started poking around in Mom's files, he suddenly has all this money to spend? He knows you found something, I said. Ashley nodded. I think he's trying to spend it before we figure out what's going on. The next 2 weeks were a blur of research and secret meetings. Ashley's contact at the law firm confirmed our worst fears. The documents were legitimate. There was a trust. It was supposed to go to Greg and Ashley, and the signature on the transfer was almost certainly forged. Getting hard proof was harder. We needed the original documents. We needed bank records. We needed to trace where the money went. All of that required either Terrence's cooperation or a court order. Ashley's friend recommended a lawyer who specialized in estate fraud. His name was Leonard Cho, and he worked out of a small office downtown that smelled like old books and coffee. He was maybe 50 with gray at his temples and reading glasses that he kept pushing up his nose. He looked at everything Ashley had gathered and nodded slowly as he read. This is substantial, he said finally. But before we move forward, I need you both to understand something. If we pursue this, you'll be accusing your father of fraud, possibly forgery. The family relationships here will be destroyed. They're already destroyed, Greg said. He destroyed them when he stole from us and let us nearly lose our home. Leonard nodded. Fair enough. Here's what we're going to do. He laid out a plan. First, he'd send a formal letter to Terrence requesting documentation about the trust. Nothing accusatory yet, just asking for records as beneficiaries were entitled to do. How Terrence responded would tell us a lot. The letter went out on a Friday. By Monday, Terrence was calling Greg's phone nonstop. Greg let it go to voicemail every time. The voicemail started calm. Hey son, just got a strange letter from some lawyer. Give me a call so we can clear this up. Then they got defensive. I don't know what Ashley's been telling you, but she's got it all wrong. Your mother's estate was handled properly. Then angry. You're going to believe some paperwork over your own father? After everything I've done for you? That last one made Greg laugh out loud. Everything he's done for me. Like lie about a ring? Like steal my inheritance? Like try to break up my marriage? I didn't say anything. Just sat next to him and let him vent. Leonard called a week later with news. Terrence had hired his own lawyer. A guy named Philip, something from a big firm in the city. They were refusing to produce the documents we requested. What does that mean? Greg asked. It means we file a formal complaint, Leonard said. We request a court order for the documents. This becomes official. Greg looked at me. I nodded. We'd talked about this. We knew it might come to this. Do it, Greg said. The complaint was filed the next day. Terrence was served that evening. Ashley texted us a photo of him standing in his driveway holding the papers with a look on his face like the world had just ended. And honestly, maybe for him it had. The family fallout was immediate and intense. Terrence called an emergency family meeting at his house, invited everyone except Greg and Ashley. According to Aunt Carol's daughter, who was sympathetic to our side, the meeting was basically Terrence trying to convince everyone that Greg had been brainwashed by me and Ashley was mentally unstable. He told them I was after money that didn't exist, that Ashley was making up stories to get attention, that the lawyer was a scam artist who saw an opportunity to exploit a grieving family. About half the family bought it. The other half had apparently always had doubts about Terrence. Apparently, there had been whispers for years about how he handled things after his wife died. Small inconsistencies, questions that never got answered, things that didn't add up. We got unexpected allies. Greg's cousin Willa reached out to say she believed us and wanted to help however she could. An old family friend named Howard, who'd known Greg's mom since high school, called to say he'd always thought there was something off about how quickly Terrence had dealt with the estate. The court date was set for 6 weeks out. Leonard warned us it could take months or even years to fully resolve, depending on how much Terrence fought back. We should prepare for a long battle. But then something happened that changed everything. Ashley called me on a Thursday morning. I was at work pulling espresso shots when my phone buzzed with her name. I stepped into the back room to answer. "You need to come to the lawyer's office," she said. "Right now." "What's wrong?" "Nothing's wrong." Ashley's voice was weird, like she was trying not to cry or laugh or both. "Dad's here. He wants to talk." I called Greg and told him to meet me there. I explained to my manager there was a family emergency and ran to my car. When I got to Leonard's office, the waiting room was tense. Terrence was sitting in a chair against the far wall, looking smaller than I'd ever seen him. His lawyer, Philip, was next to him with a briefcase on his lap. Greg arrived a few minutes later. He stopped in the doorway when he saw his dad. "Thanks for coming," Terrence said. His voice was hoarse. Leonard ushered us all into the conference room. We sat on opposite sides of the table. Me, Greg, Ashley, and Leonard on one side. Terrence and Philip on the other. "My client has something he'd like to say," Philip announced. Terrence cleared his throat. He looked at Greg and Ashley for a long moment. Then, he looked down at his hands. "I took the money," he said. "All of it. Your mother's inheritance. It was supposed to go to you, but I took it instead." Nobody said anything. I don't think anyone was breathing. "Why?" Ashley finally asked. Terrence rubbed his face. "I was scared. When your mom got sick, the medical bills piled up. Insurance didn't cover as much as we thought. I started using the trust to pay for things." "That's understandable," Leonard said carefully. Terrence shook his head. "No, it wasn't just medical bills. After she died, I kept spending. I told myself I'd pay it back, but I never did. I used it for the house, for the truck, for things I didn't need." Greg's hands were clenched on the table. "How much is left?" Terrence looked at Philip, who opened the briefcase and pulled out a folder. "Approximately $140,000, Philip said. "The rest was spent over the past 4 years. So you burned through $260,000, Greg said slowly, while telling us there was nothing left. While I was getting evicted, while my wife was selling jewelry to keep a roof over our heads." Terrence couldn't meet his eyes. I know what I did." "Do you?" Ashley's voice was sharp. "Because it seems like you only came clean because you got caught." "I was going to pay it back," Terrence said weakly. "With what?" Greg demanded. "You spent the money on boats and vacations. You're retired. You have no income. When exactly were you planning to return the inheritance you stole from your own children?" Philip held up a hand. "My client is prepared to return the remaining funds immediately. He's also prepared to sign over the deed to his house to make up for the difference." The room went quiet. Terrence was offering to give up his house. The house he'd lived in for 30 years. The house where Greg grew up. "I don't want your house," Greg said. "Then what do you want?" Terrence asked. Greg looked at me, then at Ashley, then back at his dad. "I want you to admit what you did to the rest of the family. I want them to know the truth. No spinning it. No making excuses. You tell them exactly what happened." Terrence's face went gray. "That would ruin me." "You ruined yourself?" Greg said. "I'm just asking you to be honest about it." There was a long pause. Philip whispered something to Terrence. Terrence shook his head. More whispering. Finally, Terrence nodded slowly. "Okay, I'll tell them." "And the ring," Ashley added. "Tell them the truth about Mom's ring, too. Tell them you made up the whole family heirloom story. Tell them you tried to destroy Greg's marriage over a lie." Terrence winced, but he nodded again. The family meeting happened the following Sunday at Aunt Carol's house. Greg and I didn't go. We stayed home and watched movies while Ashley sent us live updates. Dad just admitted everything. Uncle Robert looks like he's going to have a stroke. Aunt Carol is crying. She keeps saying she can't believe she called Meredith those things. Cousin Derek just stormed out. He said he can't be part of this family anymore. Dad is crying now. I've never seen him cry before. The updates kept coming for 2 hours. By the end of it, the family was fractured in ways that would probably take years to heal. Some people were angry at Terrence. Some were angry at Greg and Ashley for exposing him. Some were just confused and sad. But the truth was out. Finally, the money was transferred to Greg and Ashley's accounts within the week. $140,000 split down the middle. $70,000 each. Greg came home from the bank after confirming the deposit and just stood in the kitchen for a while. "That's more money than I've ever seen in my life," he said. "What do you want to do with it?" I asked. He thought for a minute. "Pay off your student loans, get a reliable car, save the rest. We don't have to rush into anything," I said. "I know." He pulled me into a hug. "I just want to feel normal for a while. Not worried about money, not stressed about bills. Just normal." I understood exactly what he meant. Over the next few months, things slowly settled into a new normal. Greg found a better job at a distribution center that paid almost double what the grocery store did. I kept working at the coffee shop, but without the constant money stress, it actually became enjoyable. I liked my coworkers. I liked the regular customers. I liked making fancy latte art for people who appreciated it. We moved to a nicer apartment in a better neighborhood. Nothing fancy. 2 bedrooms with a little balcony where I could grow herbs in pots. But it felt like ours. Like we'd earned it. Ashley became a regular presence in our lives. She and Greg were closer now than they'd ever been. She came over for dinner at least once a week. Sometimes she'd bring her boyfriend Travis, who was a quiet guy who worked in IT and clearly adored her. Terrence was another story. He'd moved out of the family house like he'd promised and into a small condo on the other side of town. He'd lost a lot of friends and family over what happened. Some people forgave him eventually, most didn't. He tried reaching out to Greg a few times, sent birthday cards, left voicemails on holidays. Greg never responded. Not out of cruelty, just because he wasn't ready. Maybe he never would be. I'm not going to pretend everything was perfect after that. There were still hard days, still moments where Greg would get quiet, and I knew he was thinking about his mom, about how different things might have been if she'd lived, about whether she would have let any of this happen. But we got through it, together. About a year later, Ashley called with news. She'd been going through more of her mom's things, boxes that had been in storage for years, and she'd found something. It was a letter, addressed to Greg and Ashley, written by their mom a few weeks before she died. Ashley brought it over and we all sat in the living room while Greg opened it with shaking hands. The letter was 3 pages long. Their mom talked about how much she loved them, how proud she was of who they'd become, how she wished she had more time, and then at the end she wrote something that made Greg cry. Take care of each other. That's all I ask. Take care of each other and don't let anyone come between you. Not even your father. I love him, but I know who he is. He's weak in ways that matter. He'll let you down when you need him most. Don't rely on him. Rely on each other. She knew, Greg whispered. Mom knew he would do something like this. She was trying to warn us, Ashley said. We sat with that for a long time. The knowledge that their mother had seen this coming, had tried in her own way to prepare them for it. Greg folded the letter carefully and put it back in its envelope. I'm glad we found this, he said finally. I'm glad she got to tell us one more time. Me too, Ashley said. They hugged each other. A real hug. The kind that says, I've got you no matter what. I watched them and felt something shift in my chest. This family had been through hell, but they'd come out the other side. Scarred, maybe. Different, definitely. But still standing. And for the first time since I'd sold that ring, I didn't feel guilty anymore. I felt proud. Of myself. Of Greg. Of what we'd built together. Sometimes the worst moments of your life lead to the best changes. Sometimes you have to lose everything to find what really matters. We lost a lot that year. Trust, money, family connections that would never fully repair. But we gained something too. The truth. Each other. A chance to start over without the weight of lies holding us down. And honestly, I'd make the same choice again. That ring was just metal and stones. But our home? Our marriage? Our future? That's something no pawn shop can put a price on. Update 1. Hey everyone. It's been about 6 months since I posted the original story, and honestly, I wasn't planning to come back here. But so much has happened that people keep asking for updates, so here we go. First, the good stuff. Greg and I bought a house. An actual house with a yard and everything. It's small. 3 bedrooms. Needs some work. But it's ours. We closed on it 2 months ago, and I still can't believe it sometimes. I'll be washing dishes and look out the window at our own backyard and just freeze for a second because it doesn't feel real. The money from the inheritance made the down payment possible. We were smart with the rest. Paid off all our debt. Put some in savings. Invested a little based on advice from a financial planner Ashley recommended. Greg got promoted at the distribution center. He's a shift supervisor now, which means better hours and benefits. He actually likes his job, which after years of hating every minute of work feels like a miracle. I'm still at the coffee shop, but I went down to part-time. The extra hours go toward something I never thought I'd do. I'm back in school. Community college for now. Working toward a business degree. It's hard balancing everything, but Greg is incredibly supportive. He quizzes me on stuff, brings me snacks when I'm studying late, makes dinner on nights when I have class. Ashley and Travis got engaged. She asked me to be in the bridal party, which surprised me at first given how things started between us. But we've become actual friends now. Real ones. We get lunch together. Go shopping sometimes. She texts me memes at random hours. It's nice to have someone in Greg's family who actually wants me around. Now the complicated stuff. Terrence had a health scare about 3 months ago. Heart attack. Minor according to the doctors, but still scary. He was in the hospital for a few days and then had to take it easy for weeks after. Ashley told us what happened. Greg listened without saying much. When she asked if he wanted to visit him in the hospital, he said no. I didn't push him on it. That's his choice to make. But I noticed something change after that. Greg got quieter. More distracted. He'd stare at his phone sometimes, like he was thinking about calling someone. One night, he came home from work and sat on the couch without turning on the TV or anything. Just sat there. You okay? I asked. He shrugged. I keep thinking about what would happen if he died. I sat next to him and waited. Like, would I regret not talking to him? Greg continued. Would I wish I'd said something? Or would I just feel relieved? What do you want? I asked. I don't know. He rubbed his face. I hate what he did. I'll probably always hate it. But he's still my dad, you know? He was there for my whole childhood. He taught me how to ride a bike, how to drive. He was at my graduation. He walked Ashley down the aisle at her first wedding. All of that can be true, I said. He can be someone who did good things and also someone who hurt you badly. It doesn't have to be one or the other. Greg nodded slowly. Yeah, I guess. A few weeks later, he asked me to come with him somewhere. He wouldn't tell me where until we pulled up in front of Terrence's condo. You sure about this? I asked. No, he admitted, but I need to do it anyway. We walked up to the door together. Greg knocked. There was a long pause before Terrence opened it. He looked older than I remembered, thinner. The heart attack had clearly taken a lot out of him. Greg, he said. His voice cracked a little. Can we come in? Terrence stepped aside without a word. The condo was small and kind of sad. Boxes still unpacked in corners. Not much on the walls. A single recliner in front of a TV that was too big for the room. We sat on a couch that still had the plastic wrap on parts of it. Terrence sat in his recliner. Nobody said anything for a minute. I'm not here to forgive you, Greg said finally. I want to be clear about that up front. Terrence nodded. Okay, but I'm also tired of carrying all this anger around. It's exhausting. So I'm here to ask you some questions, and I need honest answers. Can you do that? I can try. Greg took a breath. Did Mom know you were going to take the money? Terrence was quiet for a long time. Then he shook his head. No. She thought it would go to you kids like it was supposed to. Did you plan it from the beginning, or did it just happen? Another long pause. A bit of both, I guess. I told myself I'd only borrow what we needed for medical bills. But then the bills kept coming. And then she was gone and I was alone, and spending money was the only thing that made me feel okay. That's an excuse, Greg said flatly. You're right, Terrence agreed. It is. There's no good reason for what I did. I stole from my own children because I was selfish and weak, just like your mother said. Greg flinched at that. You read her letter? Ashley showed me. Terrence's eyes were wet. She was right about everything. She always was. We stayed for about an hour. The conversation didn't magically fix anything. Greg didn't suddenly forgive his dad or agree to Sunday dinners, but something loosened between them. Some of the poison drained out. When we left, Greg was quiet again. But it was a different kind of quiet, more peaceful. I needed to hear him admit it, he said as we drove home. Without excuses. Without blaming someone else. Just admitting he messed up. Did it help? Greg thought about it. A little. Yeah, it helped a little. We still don't see Terrence much. Greg calls him maybe once a month. They keep it surface level. How's work? How's your health? Generic stuff that doesn't require actually dealing with everything that happened. But it's something. A starting point, maybe. Or maybe just a way for Greg to live with it without driving himself crazy. The rest of the family stuff has been weird. Some of them have come around. Aunt Carol apologized to me personally, which was honestly shocking. She brought over a casserole and cried in our kitchen for 20 minutes about how terrible she felt. Others are still distant. Cousin Derek apparently tells people that Greg and Ashley destroyed the family by airing dirty laundry. He refuses to come to any event where we might be present. Whatever. We don't lose sleep over Derek. The ring is the part people keep asking about. Did I ever try to get it back from the pawn shop? No. By the time everything settled down, it had been months. The pawn shop guy probably sold it ages ago. And honestly, I don't want it. Neither does Greg. It would just be a reminder of all the lies, all the pain, all the family drama that almost cost us everything. Some things are better left in the past. Greg's mom, though. We found a way to honor her that feels right. Ashley had a bunch of her old things in storage. Photo albums, recipe cards, a quilt she made by hand. We went through it all together one afternoon, laughing at old pictures, reading notes she'd written in the margins of cookbooks. We took our favorites and made a little display in our new house. Her picture in a nice frame, a few of her things arranged around it. Nothing fancy, just enough to remember her by. Sometimes I catch Greg standing in front of it, just looking, processing, remembering. He doesn't talk about her much, but I know she's always there, in the way he cooks her recipes, in the phrases he uses that he picked up from her, in the values she taught him that guide how he lives. She'd be proud of him. I really believe that. Proud of who he's become, proud of how he handled everything with his dad, proud of the life we're building together. I like to think she's watching somehow, seeing her son happy and healthy and loved, knowing that despite everything her kids turned out okay. That's all any parent really wants, right? Update 2. Okay, so I really wasn't planning to write another update, but something happened last week that I need to process, and this seems like the best place to do it. You remember the pawn shop where I sold the ring? Third guy with the microscope who gave me $800? He called me. Let me explain. When I sold the ring, I had to fill out some paperwork. Name, phone number, address. Standard stuff for pawn shops to track where items come from. I'd completely forgotten about that paperwork until my phone rang with an unknown number last Tuesday. I almost didn't answer. Figured it was spam. But something made me pick up. Is this Meredith? A man's voice asked. Who's calling? My name is Vincent. I own a pawn shop on the east side. You sold me a ring about 2 years ago. Sapphire with small diamonds. I sat down heavily on the couch. Yeah, that was me. I have it here, Vincent said. Someone brought it back. What? Let me explain. When you sold me the ring, I could tell it meant something. You were nervous. Kept looking at the door like someone might come in and stop you. So I remembered you. I didn't know what to say, so I just listened. A woman came in last week, Vincent continued. Older lady, nicely dressed. She wanted to buy something special for her granddaughter, and she found the ring in my case. But when I told her the price, she got this strange look on her face. Asked where I got it. Vincent paused. I could hear papers rustling. I told her someone had sold it to me. She asked if I had any information about the seller. I said I couldn't share that, but I could reach out if she wanted to leave a message. She left a message, I asked. She left the ring, Vincent said. Paid full price for it, then asked me to return it to you. Said she'd heard about what happened and wanted to make it right. My brain was spinning. Who was this woman? How did she know about me? Did she leave a name? I asked. Vincent hesitated. She asked me not to say. But she left a letter for you with the ring. I think it explains everything. I drove to the pawn shop that afternoon. Vincent was behind the counter. A heavy-set guy in his 60s with a gray beard and kind eyes. He handed me a small velvet box. Different from the original one, but the ring inside was the same. I'd know it anywhere. There was also an envelope taped to the box. My name on the front in elegant handwriting. I sat in my car and opened it. Dear Meredith, you don't know me, but I know a lot about you. I've been a friend of the Peterson family for over 40 years. I knew Margaret before she married Terrence. I was at their wedding. I held their babies. I also know what Terrence did to you and those children. I know about the lies, the stolen inheritance, the chaos he caused in your life. When I heard about the ring and what it represented, I felt sick. Not because you sold it, but because you were put in that position at all. Margaret would have understood. She was practical above all else. She would never have wanted her children to suffer for something as replaceable as jewelry. I found the ring by accident while shopping for my granddaughter. When the owner told me the story, I knew what I had to do. This ring belongs in your family. Not because of any fake story about heirlooms, but because of what you did with it. You used it to protect your home, to save your marriage, to survive when no one else was helping you. That gives it more meaning than any made-up history ever could. Please accept it as a gift. Not from me, really, but from Margaret. I think she would have wanted this. Take care of yourself. Take care of Greg. Be happy. A friend. I sat in that parking lot and cried for 20 minutes straight. When I got home, I showed Greg the ring and the letter. He read it 3 times without saying anything. Who is this person? He finally asked. I don't know. She wouldn't tell Vincent her name. Greg turned the ring over in his hands. It looked smaller than I remembered. Less impressive. Just a pretty piece of jewelry that had caused so much trouble. What do you want to do with it? I asked. He thought for a while. Then he smiled. I think we should give it to Ashley. Really? She's getting married. She deserves something from Mom. Something that doesn't have all our baggage attached to it. We can tell her the truth about where it came from. About everything. And she can decide if she wants it. That's really thoughtful, I said. He shrugged. I'm done letting this thing have power over me. It's just a ring. Let it actually mean something good for once. We gave it to Ashley that weekend. Told her the whole story. The mysterious woman at the pawn shop. The letter. Greg's idea. Ashley cried. Of course she cried. Then she put the ring on her finger and looked at it for a long time. It's really pretty, she said. I never got to see it before all this happened. Greg smiled. Mom had good taste. She really did. Ashley wore the ring at her wedding. Not as her engagement ring, obviously. But on her other hand, something old. Something borrowed. Something that connected her to her mother on the most important day of her life. The mysterious benefactor never revealed herself. We tried asking around the older family, friends. Nobody admitted to it. Maybe she really was just someone Margaret knew from years ago. Someone who followed the family drama from a distance and decided to help in her own way. Or maybe there's no mystery at all. Maybe it was just a kind stranger who heard a story and wanted to give it a happy ending. Either way, I'm grateful. Life has continued moving forward since then. The house is starting to feel more like home. Greg just got another raise at work. I'm halfway through my degree now with pretty good grades. Ashley's married and disgustingly happy with Travis. Terrence is still around, still reaching out occasionally. Greg still keeps him at arm's length. Maybe someday that will change. Maybe it won't. That's not really up to me. The family has mostly settled into new patterns. Some people we see regularly. Others we've let drift away. That's how it goes sometimes. You can't force relationships that aren't working. What I've learned through all of this is that family isn't just about blood. It's about who shows up, who supports you, who stands by you when everything falls apart. Greg showed up for me when I was terrified about selling that ring. Ashley showed up with the truth when it would have been easier to stay quiet. Even that mysterious woman at the pawn shop showed up in her own way. Those are my people. The ones who choose to be there. The ones who help me be better. Everything else is just noise. So that's the end of the story, I guess. Not a perfect ending. Life rarely gives you those. But good enough. Better than I ever expected when I walked into that first pawn shop with shaking hands and a ring I wasn't sure I should be selling. Sometimes you do the wrong thing for the right reasons. Sometimes that wrong thing leads you somewhere you never expected. Somewhere better. Sometimes it all works out. Thanks for coming on this journey with me. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. That's really all any of us can do. Update 3. Final update. I know I said the last update was the end. I really believed it was. But then 2 weeks ago I got a phone call that changed everything. It was from a lawyer's office I didn't recognize. A woman with a professional voice asking if I was Meredith Peterson, married to Gregory Peterson. I said yes, expecting some kind of scam or sales pitch. I'm calling on behalf of the estate of Eleanor Walsh, she said. Miss Walsh passed away recently and left specific instructions regarding your family. I had no idea who Eleanor Walsh was. The name meant nothing to me. I'm sorry, I said. I think you have the wrong person. You sold a sapphire ring at a pawn shop approximately 2.5 years ago, the lawyer said. Miss Walsh purchased that ring and had it returned to you. I nearly dropped the phone. The mysterious woman. The one who left the letter. The one who called herself a friend. Her name was Eleanor Walsh and she was dead. Miss Walsh left you something in her will, the lawyer continued. Could you and your husband come to our office this Thursday to discuss the details? Greg and I went together. The lawyer's office was downtown in one of those old buildings with marble floors and dark wood everywhere. Very formal. Very serious. The lawyer who called me was named Patricia. She was maybe 60 with silver hair and no-nonsense glasses. She sat us down in a conference room and opened a folder. Eleanor Walsh was 93 when she passed. Patricia began. She never married. No children. She spent most of her career as a professor of art history. She was also a close friend of Margaret Peterson for many decades. Greg inhaled sharply. My mother's friend. I remember her. Barely. She came to Christmas a few times when I was a kid. Patricia nodded. Miss Walsh and your mother were roommates in college. They remained close throughout their lives, though they saw each other less frequently in later years. Your mother's illness was very difficult for Eleanor. She felt she should have done more to help the family during that time. She did help, I said. She got the ring back to us. That meant everything. That was only part of what she wanted to do, Patricia said. She opened another section of the folder. When Eleanor heard about what happened with the inheritance and your father's actions, she was devastated. She'd known Terrence for years and never liked him. Always thought Margaret deserved better. Greg made a sound that might have been a laugh. She wasn't wrong. Eleanor spent the last 2 years of her life reorganizing her own estate, Patricia continued. She wanted to ensure her money went to people who deserved it. People Margaret would have wanted to help. She slid a document across the table to us. I looked at it, then looked again. The numbers didn't make sense. Eleanor Walsh left her entire estate to Greg and me, and to Ashley, divided equally among the three of us. The total was just over $1.2 million. I couldn't breathe. Greg grabbed my hand under the table so hard it hurt. I don't understand, he said. She barely knew us. Why would she do this? Patricia smiled slightly, the first crack in her professional demeanor. I asked her the same question when she gave me these instructions. She said Margaret was the best friend she ever had. She said she failed Margaret by not being there more during her illness. She said this was her way of making it right. Patricia pushed another envelope across the table. There was also a letter. Greg's hands were shaking as he opened it. Dear Gregory and Meredith, if you're reading this, then I'm gone. Don't be sad about that. 93 is a good run and I was ready. I want to explain why I'm doing this because I know it must seem strange. A stranger leaving you money. It doesn't make sense. But here's the thing. You're not strangers to me. I've known your family for over 60 years. I watched Gregory grow up from photos Margaret sent me. I celebrated when you two got married even though I was too frail to attend the wedding. And I watched in horror when Terrence betrayed everyone Margaret loved. I thought about confronting him, about telling the rest of the family what I suspected. But I was old and tired and I told myself it wasn't my place. That was cowardice and I regret it deeply. When I found that ring in the pawn shop, it felt like a sign, a chance to finally do something. So I bought it and returned it and I thought that would be enough. But it wasn't. Nothing would ever be enough to make up for what I should have done and didn't. This money is mine to give. I have no family left, no one who needs it. So I'm giving it to you. Use it well. Build the life Margaret would have wanted for her son. Have children if you want them. Travel. Create. Be happy. That's all she ever wanted for you. That's all I want now. I'm sorry I wasn't a better friend to her when it mattered. I hope this helps somehow. With love and regret, Eleanor. We sat in that conference room for a long time after we finished reading. Neither of us could speak. The money changed everything and nothing at the same time. It meant security. Real security. The kind where you don't have to worry about what happens if someone loses a job or gets sick. It meant choices. We could help people we cared about. We could give to causes that mattered. We could build something lasting. But it also meant carrying this weight. The knowledge that someone we barely knew had given us everything she had because she felt guilty about things that happened before we were even part of the family. Ashley had a hard time with it too. She called us the night after we told her about the inheritance. I feel like I'm stealing from a dead woman I never met, she said. You're not stealing anything, Greg told her. She chose to give it to us. But why? It doesn't make sense. It makes perfect sense if you knew how much she loved Mom. This was her way of taking care of us because she couldn't take care of Mom anymore. We've started talking to a financial advisor about how to handle everything responsibly. The advisor says with careful planning, the money could support all three of us for the rest of our lives. That feels impossible to process. We went from eating ramen and selling jewelry for rent money to never having to worry about money again. Sometimes I still wake up at 3 a.m. convinced it's all going to disappear, that someone is going to call and say there was a mistake, that the money was never real. Greg says he has the same dreams. We hold each other in the dark until the fear passes. Terrence found out about the inheritance through the family grapevine. He called Greg twice. Greg didn't answer either time. Then he showed up at our house on a Sunday afternoon. Just appeared on the porch ringing the doorbell. Greg opened the door and stared at him for a long moment. I heard about Eleanor, Terrence said. That was very generous of her. Greg didn't invite him in. Just stood in the doorway with his arms crossed. What do you want, Dad? I thought maybe now. Terrence paused. Now that things are better for you, maybe we could try again. Start fresh. Greg was quiet for so long I started to worry. Then he spoke in this calm, flat voice I'd never heard from him before. You stole from us, he said. You lied about Mom's ring. You tried to destroy my marriage. You let us almost lose our home while you sat on money that belonged to us. And now that someone else fixed the mess you made, you want to start fresh? Terrence looked at the ground. I know I can't undo what I did. No, you can't. Greg's voice didn't waver. And you're not going to benefit from Eleanor's generosity. She gave us this money because she hated what you did, because she wanted to help the people you hurt. You don't get to show up now and pretend everything's fine. I'm still your father. Then act like one for once. Greg closed the door in his face. I watched through the window as Terrence stood on our porch for another 5 minutes before finally walking back to his car. He's called a few times since then. Greg doesn't answer. Maybe someday he will. Maybe he won't. That's his choice. I support whatever he decides. The real ending to this story isn't about money or rings or inheritance. It's about what you do when everything you believe turns out to be a lie. You can let it destroy you. Let the anger and betrayal eat you from the inside out. Or you can build something new, something better, something that belongs only to you. We chose to build. Greg finished his management training and now runs his entire department. I graduated with my business degree last month. Top of my class. Ashley just found out she's pregnant with her first child. A girl. She wants to name her Margaret. We bought the lot next to our house and we're building a guest cottage for visitors. Maybe for Ashley and her family when they need a break. Maybe for friends. Maybe just because we can. The ring sits in a jewelry box in our bedroom now. Ashley gave it back after her wedding. Said it should stay with us. That it had finally found its home. I look at it sometimes. This small circle of metal and stones that caused so much chaos. That almost cost me my marriage. That led us through the worst and best moments of our lives. It's just a ring. It was always just a ring. But what it taught us about family and trust and survival. About who shows up when everything falls apart. About the strangers who become guardian angels and the relatives who become strangers. That's worth more than any heirloom could ever be. I don't know what comes next. Nobody ever really does. But for the first time in my life, I'm not scared of the future. Whatever happens, we'll handle it. Together. That's all any of us can really promise. And honestly, it's more than enough. Bonus update. 6 months later, I really didn't think I'd be back here again. But life has a way of throwing curveballs when you least expect them. Remember how I mentioned Ashley was pregnant? Well, the baby came 3 weeks early. We got the call at 2 in the morning and Greg nearly broke his neck running down the stairs to get to the car. By the time we got to the hospital, Ashley was already in active labor. Travis was pacing the hallway looking like he might pass out. Greg grabbed him by the shoulders and told him to breathe. 14 hours later, little Margaret Grace was born. 7 pounds 2 ounces. A full head of dark hair just like her grandmother. Greg held her first. He stood there in the hospital room with this tiny baby in his arms and tears streaming down his face. He didn't say anything for a long time. Just looked at her like she was the most precious thing in the world. She has Mom's eyes, he finally whispered. I looked at the baby's face. She was too new to really look like anyone yet, but I understood what he meant. He saw his mother in her. The continuation of something he thought he'd lost forever. Ashley was exhausted but glowing. Travis had stopped looking like he might faint and was instead taking approximately 4,000 photos of everything. Greg carefully handed the baby back to Ashley and came to stand next to me. I'm an uncle, he said. You're going to be a great one. He put his arm around me. We watched Ashley and Travis fuss over their daughter. The beeping of machines, the soft light of the hospital room, the beginning of a new chapter. Later that night, after visiting hours ended, we sat in the hospital cafeteria drinking terrible coffee. Neither of us wanted to go home yet. I keep thinking about what Mom would say, Greg said. If she could see this, I think she'd be happy. Really happy. He nodded slowly. All that stuff with my dad. All the drama about the ring. The inheritance. None of it matters compared to this. To having family. Real family. He looked at me with an expression I couldn't quite read. I want that too, he said. Kids, I mean. With you. If you want. We'd talked about it before. Vaguely. Someday. Kind of conversations. But this felt different. More real. Yeah, I said. I want that. He smiled. That real smile that still makes my heart do weird things even after all these years. Good. We sat there in the cafeteria until the sun came up. Planning. Dreaming. Talking about the future in ways we never had before. 3 months later, I found out I was pregnant. The test came back positive on a random Tuesday morning while Greg was at work. I sat on the bathroom floor staring at those 2 pink lines for probably 20 minutes. Then I called Ashley. She screamed so loud I had to hold the phone away from my ear. Then she started crying. Then laughing. Then crying again. I'm going to be an aunt, she kept saying. Our babies are going to grow up together. This is perfect. I wanted to tell Greg in person. In some special, memorable way. But when he walked through the door that evening and saw me sitting on the couch, he knew immediately that something was up. What's wrong? He asked. Nothing's wrong. I handed him the test. But something is definitely different. He looked at it, looked at me, back at the test. Then his knees actually buckled. He had to grab the back of the couch to stay upright. Are you serious? Positive test says so. He crossed the room in 2 steps and pulled me into his arms. Held me so tight I could barely breathe. We're having a baby, he said into my hair. We're having a baby. He pulled back to look at my face. His eyes were wet. I need to sit down. He collapsed onto the couch next to me. Just sat there with his head in his hands for a minute. Sorry, he said. I'm processing. Take your time. A baby. He shook his head. A actual human baby. That we made. Together. That's generally how it works. He laughed. That slightly hysterical laugh of someone who's just had their entire world rearranged. My mom would have loved this, he said softly. She wanted grandkids so bad. She's getting one now. Through Ashley and through us. He nodded, reached over and put his hand on my stomach even though there was nothing to feel yet. Hi, baby, he whispered. I'm your dad. I have no idea what I'm doing, but I promise to figure it out. I started crying then. Stupid pregnancy hormones already kicking in. The next few months were a blur of doctor's appointments and baby books and arguing about names. Greg wanted to name the baby after his mom if it was a girl. I thought that might be weird since Ashley had just named her daughter Margaret. We compromised on using Margaret's middle name instead. Grace. If it was a boy, we'd figure something else out. The pregnancy was mostly easy. Some morning sickness in the first trimester, weird cravings in the second. By the third, I couldn't see my feet anymore, and getting up from the couch required a 5-point plan. Ashley and I spent a lot of time together. She'd bring baby Margaret over, and we'd sit on my couch comparing pregnancy war stories. She told me about the sleepless nights and the endless diaper changes and the way Travis sometimes looked at her like she'd grown a second head. But she also told me about the good stuff, the way Margaret smiled now, the way she'd grab Ashley's finger and hold on, the way being a mom felt like the most natural thing in the world once you got past the initial terror. You're going to be great at this, she told me. You and Greg both. I hope so. You will be. She shifted Margaret to her other hip. Trust me. Anyone who survived what we all went through together can handle a baby. She had a point. The baby shower happened when I was 8 months along. Ashley planned the whole thing, rented out a room at this cute tea house downtown, and invited everyone. And I mean everyone. My family drove in from Ohio. Greg's coworkers showed up with way too many presents. Our neighbors brought homemade food. Even some of Greg's family came, the ones who'd sided with us during the whole ring debacle. Terrence was not invited. Greg was very clear about that. But something interesting happened during the shower. I was opening presents and thanking people and trying not to cry at everything because hormones when I noticed an older woman I didn't recognize standing by the door. She was maybe 70. Well-dressed, silver hair in an elegant twist. She was watching me with this expression I couldn't quite place. I nudged Greg. Who is that? He looked up and his face went through about 5 different emotions in 3 seconds. That's Aunt Celeste, he said. My mom's sister. I haven't seen her in years. Why is she here? Before he could answer, Aunt Celeste walked over to us. She moved slowly with a cane, but there was nothing frail about her eyes. They were sharp, assessing. Gregory, she said. You look so much like your mother. Aunt Celeste. Greg stood up. I didn't know you were coming. Ashley invited me. She paused. I wanted to see how you were doing. After everything. I'm doing okay. More than okay, actually. Celeste looked at me. And you must be Meredith, the one who sold the ring. I felt my face get hot. Yes, that was me. She was quiet for a moment. Then she did something I didn't expect. She laughed. Not mean laughter. Warm laughter. Like I'd just told a funny joke. Good for you, she said. Margaret would have done the same thing. I blinked. What? Celeste sat down heavily in a nearby chair. She was clearly tired from standing, but she didn't seem to want to leave. My sister was practical above all else, she said. She loved pretty things, but she never valued them over people. If she'd been alive and you'd told her you were about to lose your home, she would have marched into that pawn shop herself. Greg sat back down. Why didn't you ever say anything? When all the family drama was happening? Because I didn't know the full story until recently. Celeste shook her head. I'm not in touch with most of them anymore. Terrence and I never got along. After Margaret died, I just pulled away. She looked down at her hands. That was wrong of me. I should have stayed close, kept an eye on things. Maybe none of this would have happened. You can't blame yourself, Greg said. Can't I? She met his eyes. I knew Terrence was weak. Knew he depended on Margaret for everything. I should have anticipated what he might do once she was gone. There was a lot of that going around, I said. Eleanor felt the same way. Celeste smiled sadly. Eleanor Walsh. We spoke a few times after Margaret died. She was consumed with guilt about not doing more. I told her it wasn't her fault either. She didn't believe me. She left us everything she had, Greg said quietly. Did you know that? Ashley told me. Celeste nodded. That sounds like Eleanor. Grand gestures to make up for perceived failures. She was dramatic like that. She sat up straighter and looked around the room at all the decorations. The baby stuff piled on tables. The banner that said, "Welcome, baby Peterson." This is wonderful, she said. Margaret would have loved this. She wanted nothing more than to see you happy and settled with a family of your own. I didn't know what to say. This woman I'd never met was talking about Greg's mom like she was still alive somehow. Like she could walk through the door at any moment. Maybe that's how it was with people you loved. They never really left you. Just changed form. Celeste stayed for the rest of the shower. She sat in the corner and watched everything with that same expression I'd noticed when she arrived. I finally figured out what it was. Pride. She was proud of us. Before she left, she pressed something into my hand. A small velvet pouch. This was Margaret's, she said. Something she wanted you to have. She told me so before she died. I opened the pouch. Inside was a delicate gold chain with a small pendant. A sapphire. The same color as the one in the ring. She had this made when she got engaged, Celeste explained. Matched her engagement ring. She said when Gregory got married, she wanted his wife to have it. But Terrence never gave it to us, Greg said, because he didn't know about it. Margaret left it with me specifically because she didn't trust him to follow through. I looked at the pendant in my hand. Such a small thing, but it felt heavy with meaning. Thank you, I said. Really, thank you. Celeste patted my hand. Take care of each other. And that baby, that's all any of us can really do. She left after that. We've stayed in touch, phone calls every few weeks. She's invited to every family event now. Another piece of Margaret that we didn't know we were missing. The baby came 3 weeks later. A girl. We named her Grace Eleanor Peterson. Grace for Margaret's middle name, Eleanor for the woman who gave us everything. She was born on a Thursday morning at 6:47 a.m. after 12 hours of labor that I don't really remember because I was too focused on pushing a human being out of my body. Greg was there the whole time, holding my hand, telling me I was doing great, looking absolutely terrified but trying to hide it. When Grace finally arrived, the nurse put her on my chest and everything else in the world disappeared. She was so tiny, so perfect. This little person we'd made together. Greg leaned over us both, tears streaming down his face. "Hi, Grace," he whispered. "We've been waiting for you." She opened her eyes then, just for a second, looking at us like she was trying to figure out where she was. "Welcome to the family," I told her. "It's a little crazy, but you're going to love it." The months that followed were exactly what Ashley had warned me about. Sleepless nights, endless diapers, moments of pure exhaustion where I wasn't sure I could keep going, but also moments of pure joy. Grace's first smile, her first laugh, the way she'd grab Greg's finger and not let go, the way she'd calm down instantly when I sang to her even though I have a terrible voice. Ashley and I became even closer. We'd meet up at parks and coffee shops, our babies in strollers side by side, two cousins who would grow up together, who would never know a time when they weren't part of each other's lives. Greg threw himself into fatherhood with everything he had. He read every book, watched every video, learned to change diapers in the dark without waking anyone up. He'd sit with Grace for hours sometimes, just watching her sleep. I asked him once what he was thinking about during those times. "My mom," he said. "I think about what she'd say if she could see this. How happy she'd be." "She can see it," I said. "I really believe that," he nodded. "Yeah, I think so too." Terrence reached out again around Grace's first birthday. A letter this time. Written by hand. Greg read it silently, then handed it to me. It was an apology. A real one. Not the kind that's full of excuses and justifications. Just, "I'm sorry. I was wrong. I understand if you never forgive me, but I want you to know I see what I did now." He also said he didn't expect to be part of Grace's life. He just wanted Greg to know he was sorry before it was too late. "What do you want to do?" I asked. Greg was quiet for a long time. Grace was playing on the floor in front of us, stacking blocks and knocking them over. "The most important person in our world. I don't know if I can forgive him," Greg finally said. "But maybe I don't need to. Maybe I just need to let go of the anger." "That sounds healthy." He smiled slightly. "My therapist would be proud." We'd both been in therapy for a while now, working through everything. The trauma, the betrayal, the complicated feelings about family and money and trust. It helped. More than I expected. Greg called Terrence the next week. I only heard his side of the conversation, but I could tell it was difficult. Lots of long pauses. Careful words. When he hung up, he looked drained but somehow lighter. "We're going to try," he said. Slow. Really slow. "But he's going to come to the birthday party. Meet Grace. Are you sure about that?" "No. But I think I need to do it anyway. For me. For my mom." I understood. Some wounds never fully heal, but they can scar over. Become part of you instead of controlling you. Grace's first birthday party was small. Just family and close friends. We had it at our house in the backyard. Ashley and Travis brought Margaret. Celeste came with a gift wrapped in about 6 layers of paper. Even my parents made the trip from Ohio. And Terrence came. He looked older than I remembered. Smaller somehow. He stood at the edge of the party for a while, like he wasn't sure he belonged there. Greg walked over to him. They talked quietly. I couldn't hear what was said, but I saw the moment something shifted. Terrence's shoulders dropped. Greg nodded at something. Then Greg led his father over to where I was holding Grace. "Dad," he said, "this is your granddaughter." Terrence looked at Grace with an expression I can only describe as wonder. His eyes were wet. "She's beautiful," he said. "She looks like Margaret." Greg tensed slightly at that. But he didn't pull away. "You want to hold her?" he asked. "If that's okay." Greg handed Grace to Terrence carefully. The old man held her like she was made of glass. "Hi, Grace," he whispered. "I'm your grandpa." Grace looked at him with her big, serious eyes. Then she reached up and grabbed his nose. Terrence laughed. A real laugh. The first genuine one I'd ever heard from him. "Strong grip?" he said. "Just like her grandma." I watched them together and felt something I didn't expect. Not forgiveness exactly. I'm not sure I'll ever fully forgive him for what he put us through. But acceptance, maybe. The understanding that people are complicated. That the same person can be capable of terrible selfishness and genuine love. Terrence stayed for an hour. He didn't try to pretend everything was normal. Didn't ask for more than he'd been given. Just spent time with his granddaughter and left when it was clear Greg was getting overwhelmed. It was a start. Tiny and fragile. But a start. So here we are now. Grace is 18 months old and already trying to boss everyone around. Margaret is 2.5 and the most protective older cousin you've ever seen. She holds Grace's hand whenever they're together like she's personally responsible for keeping her safe. Ashley and Travis are expecting their second baby. Another girl. They want to name her Eleanor. Greg got promoted again. He runs an entire regional division now. He still can't believe it sometimes. This kid who grew up thinking he'd never amount to anything. I finished my business degree and got hired at a marketing firm. I work from home 3 days a week so I can be with Grace. It's exhausting, juggling everything but worth it. Terrence comes to family events now. Not all of them. Not comfortably. But he comes. He's not the same man he was. Whether that's genuine change or just age catching up with him, I can't say. But he tries. Aunt Celeste moved to a retirement community nearby so she could be closer to us. She babysits Grace sometimes. Tells her stories about Margaret that Greg never knew. And the ring. The famous ring that started all of this. It's in a safety deposit box now. We're saving it for Grace. When she's old enough, we'll tell her the whole story. All the good and all the bad. Let her decide what it means to her. Because that's what family heirlooms should be, really. Not about the object itself. About the stories attached to it. The lessons learned. The people who came before. I look at my daughter and I see all of it. The struggle, the pain, the healing, and I'm grateful for all of it. Even the hard parts. Because without the hard parts, we wouldn't have this. A family. A real one. Complicated and messy and imperfect, but ours. That's worth more than any ring could ever be. This is definitely the last update. I mean it this time. Not because there's nothing left to tell. Life keeps happening after all. There will be more drama, more joy, more challenges. But because this is a good place to stop. A happy moment frozen in time. Whatever comes next, we'll face it together. And that's all any of us really need. Epilogue. 2 years after that. Okay, I know I keep saying final update, but I promise this is actually the last one. I just need to close the loop on a few things people have been asking about. First question everyone wants answered. What happened with the pawn shop guy Vincent? Funny story, actually. After everything settled down, Greg and I went back to thank him properly. Brought him a nice bottle of whiskey and a handwritten card explaining how much his role in all this meant to us. He was touched. Really touched. Kept trying to refuse the gift and saying he was just doing what felt right. We ended up talking for almost 2 hours. He told us about his own family drama. A brother who stole from their parents. An inheritance fight that tore his relatives apart. He'd been through his own version of what we experienced. That's why I remembered you, he said. When you came in with that ring, I could see the desperation in your eyes. The same look I had when I was going through my stuff. I knew you weren't selling it because you wanted to. Now he's a family friend. Comes to barbecues sometimes. Grace calls him Uncle Vinny, even though he's technically not related to us at all. But that's how family works, right? Sometimes the people who matter most are the ones you choose. Second question. Did Greg ever fully reconcile with Terrence? The answer is complicated. About a year after Grace was born, Terrence had another health scare. This time more serious. He needed bypass surgery and there was a real chance he might not make it. Greg went to see him before the operation. I stayed home with Grace, but he told me about it after. They sat in the hospital room for an hour just talking. Really talking. Not about the money or the ring or any of the drama. About Margaret. About the early years when Greg was a kid and things were good. About the moment Terrence realized he'd messed up but felt too ashamed to admit it. I should have asked for help, Terrence told him. When the medical bills started piling up. When I couldn't handle everything on my own. But I was too proud. Too stupid. That doesn't excuse what you did. No. Nothing excuses it. But I want you to understand it wasn't malicious. It wasn't about hurting you. I was just scared and desperate and I made terrible choices. The surgery went well. Terrence recovered. Something shifted between him and Greg after that conversation. Not forgiveness. I don't think Greg will ever fully forgive him. But something like acceptance. The understanding that his father was human. Flawed. Capable of both love and terrible selfishness. They have dinner together once a month now. Just the two of them. They don't talk about the past. Just focus on the present. On Grace. On moving forward. It's not perfect, but it's something. Third question. What about cousin Derek? The one who said we destroyed the family? Derek stayed angry for a long time. Refused to come to any event where we might be present. Posted passive-aggressive stuff on social media about family loyalty and betrayal. Then about 6 months ago, his wife left him. Turns out Derek had been embezzling money from his employer for years. Got caught. Lost his job. Faced criminal charges. His wife found out and filed for divorce immediately. The family he'd been so righteous about protecting, they scattered like roaches when the light came on. Nobody wanted to be associated with him. He reached out to Greg last month. Asked if they could talk. Greg said no. I don't owe him anything, he told me. He spent years calling us traitors and liars. Now that he's the one in trouble, suddenly he wants family support? Can't say I disagree. Fourth question. Did I ever finish my business degree? More than finished. I graduated with honors. Got a job at a marketing firm that I actually love. 3 years in, I got promoted to senior account manager. Last year, I started my own small consulting business on the side. It's weird how things work out. All those years I spent just surviving. Working minimum wage jobs. Stretching every dollar to breaking point. I never imagined I'd be here. But trauma does that sometimes. It either breaks you or makes you determined to build something better. I chose to build. Fifth question. How's Ashley doing? Ashley is thriving. She quit her job at the law firm after Eleanor had left us the inheritance, started her own business organizing estate documents for families, helping people avoid the kind of mess we went through. It's successful beyond anything she expected. She has 3 employees now, gets referrals from lawyers all over the state. Margaret is 4 now, a tornado of energy and opinions. She's already decided she wants to be a veterinarian when she grows up because she's obsessed with the family dog, a golden retriever named Biscuit that Travis brought home as a surprise last year. Their second daughter Eleanor just turned 1. She looks exactly like Ashley. Same smile, same determination. The sisters are inseparable, just like Greg and Ashley have become. The trauma that almost destroyed their family ended up making them closer than ever. 6th question. What about Aunt Celeste? Celeste passed away peacefully in her sleep about 6 months ago. She was 92. The funeral was small, just family. We buried her next to Margaret in the family plot she'd maintained for decades. In her will, she left everything to Greg and Ashley. Not a huge amount, maybe $50,000 total. But she also left something else. A box of letters. Hundreds of them. Written between her and Margaret over 40 years. Birthday cards, holiday notes, long rambling updates about their lives. Greg and Ashley spent weeks reading through them, crying, laughing, learning things about their mother they never knew. Margaret had wanted to leave Terrence multiple times. She'd written to Celeste about it in detail, about his gambling problem in the early years, his inability to keep a job, his dependence on her for everything. But she stayed. For the kids, because she believed family meant weathering the hard times together. She would have been heartbroken to know what he did after she died, Celeste wrote in one of the last letters. But she wouldn't have been surprised. She knew who he was. She loved him anyway. Those letters are in a safe now, waiting for Grace and Margaret and Eleanor when they're old enough. More pieces of the grandmother they'll never meet. 7th and final question. Are we happy? Yes. Not the fairy tale kind of happy where nothing ever goes wrong. Real happy. The kind that exists alongside frustration and exhaustion and the occasional argument about whose turn it is to do dishes. Grace is 3 now. A force of nature just like her cousin. She started preschool last month and comes home every day with new words and new opinions. Greg got promoted again. He runs the entire company now. The kid who couldn't find a job bagging groceries is now in charge of 200 employees. I sold my consulting business to a larger firm for more money than I ever imagined having. We don't need to work anymore technically, but we both like working, like having purpose beyond parenting. We built a swing set in the backyard last summer. Watch Grace play on it every evening while we drink coffee on the deck. Sometimes Greg's phone buzzes with messages from Terrence. Pictures of sunsets. Links to articles he thinks Greg would like. Small attempts at connection. Greg responds sometimes. Ignores others. Sets boundaries that feel right. That's progress. Not perfection. Progress. The ring. That stupid, beautiful ring that started everything. It's still in the safety deposit box. Still waiting for Grace. But we added something else to the box recently. A letter. Written by Greg to his daughter. Explaining everything. The good and the bad and the complicated middle. He sealed it in an envelope with her name on the front. Grace Eleanor Peterson. For when you're ready. We don't know when that will be. Maybe when she graduates high school. Maybe when she gets married. Maybe when she has kids of her own. Whenever it happens, she'll know the whole story. She'll understand where she came from, what her family survived, what her parents built from the wreckage, and maybe someday she'll sit down at a computer and write her own story, her own version of events. The next chapter in a saga that started with a sapphire ring in a bathroom drawer. I hope her story is easier than ours. I hope she never has to sell anything precious to keep a roof over her head, never has to discover that the people who should protect her have been lying all along. But if she does, if life throws her the kind of curveballs it threw us, I know she'll be okay.